There is a specific haunting moment that usually happens in total silence. You are standing in the same room as them, or perhaps you are just looking at them, and something inside your head finally clicks. It isn't a loud realization. It is quiet, almost invisible, but it is heavy with finality. In that blink of an eye, the narcissist looks at you and realizes the game is officially over. They aren't looking at the character you used to play for them anymore. They see that the lens you were looking through has been wiped clean. For years, they survived by hiding behind a carefully polished mask, a performance of charm, victimhood, or false competence, and they spent every single day forcing you to believe that the mask was the entire truth. But in this one moment, they realized that you are looking right past the costume, directly into the hollow, frightened, and utterly empty core they have been running from their entire life. In that single sharp second, the foundation of your entire relationship shifts forever. You might not have the vocabulary to explain it yet, and you might feel confused or even shaky because your brain is still trying to catch up to the truth. You don't need to have the words because your body already knows. Your nervous system, which has been living in a state of high alert fight or flight mode for so long, suddenly recognizes the shift. Something ancient and exhausted inside of you, a part of your soul that has been holding its breath for years, finally lets out a long, shuddering exhale. At the exact same time, you can feel the air in the room change. You see it in their eyes, the immediate, jagged panic. They are terrified because their primary source of fuel, your belief in their lies, has just been cut off. They realize they can no longer hide in the shadows of your confusion. If you have ever felt this, if you have ever sensed that specific cold shift in someone you thought you loved the very second you stopped buying into their version of reality, then you are exactly where you need to be. You have been carrying the weight of their secrets and their distorted version of the world, and it has left you feeling like you are losing your mind. But that doubt is exactly what they wanted. When you finally stop questioning your own eyes and start trusting your own instincts, you reclaim the power they spent years trying to strip away from you. That is a terrifying process, but it is the only way to get your life back. Before we move forward into the wreckage they leave behind, hit that subscribe button. This is not just a channel. This is a sanctuary built specifically for people who have lived through things they could never explain to anyone else without sounding crazy. You aren't crazy, and you never were. Every time you join this community, you are doing something profound for yourself. You are making a public commitment to stop settling for crumbs and start demanding the respect you deserve. You are telling your own nervous system that your healing is no longer an optional side project. It is your priority. You are finally packing your bags and walking back home to the person you were before they tried to erase you. And I am here to make sure you have the clarity you need to finish the journey. When a narcissist finally realizes that you see right through the mask, they don't just feel rejected. They enter a state of total psychological emergency. This is one of the most intense, chilling experiences you will ever witness as a survivor. For years, their entire existence in your life relied on a very specific dynamic: your blind belief in their lies, your chronic self-doubt, and your habit of questioning your own sanity whenever their version of reality didn't match the facts. They built a throne out of your uncertainty, and they were completely comfortable sitting there as long as you kept blaming yourself for everything that went wrong. But the second you start trusting your own eyes again, the entire foundation of that relationship begins to fracture. That structure was never based on love, partnership, or connection. It was built solely on control, and they are terrified of losing it. You have to remember that while narcissists are often emotionally stunted, they are incredibly skilled, predatory observers of human behavior. They don't need you to speak for them to know you've changed. They watch you with a hypervigilance that is almost unnatural. They notice that tiny, fractional pause before you decide to answer their questions. They hear the shift in your tone, which no longer trembles with the need for their approval. They see your eye contact, which used to be submissive or apologetic, now steady, calm, and unyielding. They feel the shift in your energy long before you utter a single word of confrontation. Because you are no longer the anxious, self-blaming version of yourself that they rely on, they panic. Their first instinct is not to reflect or apologize, but to launch a counteroffensive disguised as charm. This is the love bombing phase, but it's a reactivation, not a reconciliation. Suddenly, they are back to the version of themselves you fell for. They are softer, kinder, and suspiciously attentive. They'll bring up memories they used to mock, show interest in things they spent years ignoring, and look at you with a gaze that feels like it did in the very beginning. Please understand this clearly. This is not a heart opening. It is a calculated, desperate survival reflex. They are doing everything in their power to reinstall themselves into your nervous system. They are trying to re-hack your brain and hook you back into their influence before you fully wake up to the truth of who they are. They are trying to drown out your newfound clarity with a flood of manufactured affection. It is deeply disorienting because part of you, the part that has been starving for genuine love and accountability for years, desperately wants to believe this change is real. That part of you isn't weak, it's simply wounded. It's the part of you that waited for an apology that never came and for a partnership that never existed. They know exactly how to trigger that hope. This second wave of love bombing isn't targeting your intelligence because they know you are too smart to be fooled by their logic anymore. Instead, they are aiming directly at your deepest, most painful emotional wounds. They are betting that your desire to be loved will be stronger than your need for the truth. When you feel that pull to believe them, recognize it for what it is, a tactical maneuver to keep you trapped in the cycle, not a genuine shift in their character. When the charm fails and you remain steady, refusing to take the bait, the mask doesn't just slip, it shatters completely. This is the moment the narcissist stops pretending, and the rage that comes next is rarely what you would expect. It might manifest as an explosive, glass-shattering outburst, but more often it is a cold, calculated sneer that makes the temperature in the room feel like it has dropped to freezing. Understand that this rage has absolutely nothing to do with anything you actually did or said. It is not a rational reaction to an argument. Instead, it is a visceral, panicked reaction to the loss of psychological access to you. For years, they enjoyed the ability to reach inside your mind and rearrange your emotions with nothing more than a sharp glance, a heavy sigh, or a subtle withdrawal of affection. Reclaiming your power feels to them like a violent amputation. And that is why even a simple, healthy boundary like saying no or refusing to argue is viewed by them as an unforgivable act of war. Once the rage fails to bring you back under their control, they inevitably pivot to the silent treatment. You must stop viewing this as avoidance or a need for space. It is neither. The silent treatment is a weapon, plain and simple. It is a highly calculated, sadistic strategy designed to trigger your deepest, most primal wounds regarding abandonment. They spent years watching you, taking notes on how your nervous system reacts when they turn their back, and they have memorized your specific triggers. They know that if they go cold long enough, you will eventually become anxious, frantic, and desperate enough to start apologizing for things you never did just to get a reaction out of them. They are waiting for you to beg, to explain, and to fix the silence. They want to see you break down and perform that familiar dance of guilt so they can feel powerful again. But this time, the weapon backfires, and the silence creates a side effect they didn't anticipate: clarity. In the past, the distance would have terrified you, sending you into a spiral of panic and frantic self-reflection. Now, however, The silence feels like air. For the first time in a long time, the house is quiet, and so is your mind. As the days pass, you start to notice something truly profound, how peaceful your body feels when they are not in the room. You become aware of how your shoulders, which were constantly hunched up toward your ears in tension, finally drop. You notice your breath deepening, slowing down, and becoming steady. You realize with a quiet and terrifying clarity that the person you loved, the person you thought you were protecting, was actually the root cause of the chronic, bone-deep stress you have been carrying in your body for years. The silence isn't a punishment anymore. It is the absence of their chaos. And in that quiet, you finally have the space to heal. When the silent treatment fails to make you crack and you remain standing in your own truth, the narcissist enters a state of frantic desperation. And that is when the projection hits an all-time high. Suddenly, the script you've been living by is completely flipped upside down. They begin to label you with the very accusations that describe their own behavior. You will be called the narcissist, the manipulator, the cruel one, or the unstable one. It is a total psychological inversion. Being accused of the exact trauma that was inflicted upon you is deeply disorienting, and it is designed to be that way. It is meant to make you question your own sanity, to drag you back into a defensive state where you are frantically trying to prove that you are not the villain. They need you to lose your footing so they can reclaim their status as the victim. However, once you are grounded, you will see a truth that changes the entire game. Projection is actually a confession. You have to stop viewing their accusations as insults or personal attacks and start seeing them as an autobiography. Every time they point a finger at you, they are giving you a roadmap of their own darkest, most unexamined thoughts and behaviors. When they call you a liar, they are describing the way they navigate the world. When they accuse you of being cold or heartless, they are giving you a glimpse into their own hollow inner world, a world they are so terrified to face that they have to project it onto you. When you internalize this, their words lose all their power. They stop being painful barbs that cut you, and they simply become evidence. You start to see their words as a transcript of everything they are secretly afraid that everyone else will eventually find out about them. Following this, you will see them begin the frantic, erratic process of rewriting your shared history. They will look you in the eye and insist that you misremembered an event, that you are being too sensitive about something that was clearly hurtful, or that you were the one who provoked them into acting the way they did. They will try to rewrite the narrative to frame you as the aggressor and themselves as the long-suffering saint. For years, you probably swallowed these lies just to keep the peace, agreeing to their version of reality, even when your own gut was screaming that something was wrong. But now, that part of you that has been waking up refuses to compromise. You no longer have the energy or the desire to feed their fantasy. This is the point of no return for them. A narcissist can actually handle your anger, your tears, and your shouting because that energy is still focused on them. As long as you are screaming, you are still, quote, engaged with their version of reality. What they absolutely cannot survive, what they find completely unbearable, is your calm, quiet, and unwavering clarity. They cannot handle you being unbothered, steady, and detached. When you look at them with that steady gaze that says, "I see exactly who you are, and I am no longer afraid of you," you have effectively stripped them of their power. You are no longer their audience, you are no longer their fuel, and you are no longer their victim. In that moment of quiet, terrifying self-possession, you have finally won your freedom. When the internal manipulation fails, when they can no longer control your emotions, rewrite your memories, or trigger your guilt, the narcissist stops trying to hide the conflict and decides to take the war public. They shift their strategy toward intimidation and the systematic destruction of your reputation through a smear campaign. Suddenly, you notice a chilling change in your social circle. Friends who used to greet you with warmth now look at you with suspicion. Family members begin asking intrusive, pointed questions based on information you know they couldn't have gathered on their own, and mutual connections start to grow distant or cold. This isn't happening by accident. Behind the scenes, the narcissist has been working as a master manipulator for a long time, quietly planting toxic seeds and carefully constructing a false narrative to paint themselves as the suffering, innocent victim, and you as the volatile, unstable, or dangerous threat. Losing people you once trusted to a smear campaign is one of the most painful, isolating experiences you can endure. It hurts to realize that your reputation has been tarnished by someone who claimed to care about you. However, as the dust settles, you will arrive at a realization that is incredibly liberating. The people who were willing to believe the lies without ever stopping to ask for your side of the story were never truly your people in the first place. They were never your real allies. They were simply extensions of the narcissist's social mask. You have to understand that you were unknowingly cast in a play, and these people were merely stage props in a performance you didn't even know you were starring in. Their departure from your life is a painful process, but it is a necessary spiritual cleansing. Your social circle may become much smaller, but it finally becomes authentic, quiet, and above all, safe. You are no longer living in a house of mirrors where you have to constantly defend your character. Finally, they will resort to the classic desperate tactic, triangulation. This is where they parade a new person, a new friend, a new business associate, or a new romantic partner right in front of you, intentionally designed to provoke your jealousy, feed your insecurity, and force you to doubt your own worth one last time. They want you to look at this new replacement and wonder what they have that you don't, or why they are receiving the good version of the narcissist that you were promised but never actually got to keep. Please do not fall for this choreographed performance. The new person is not winning anything. They are simply next in line. They are walking into the exact same chaotic, soul-crushing maze that you just managed to escape. The only difference is that they don't know the layout of the maze yet. The narcissist has not changed, and they are not capable of building a new, healthy life with someone else. They are simply moving through their endless, tragic, and repetitive cycle, recycling the same scripts and the same wounds with a new set of faces. When you realize this, the jealousy evaporates because you realize you aren't being discarded. You are being liberated from a cycle that was designed to break you. While the narcissist remains trapped in their endless, repetitive loop of manipulation and projection, you are doing something truly extraordinary. You are healing in real time. It is important to realize that the chaos you feel during this transition is not a sign that you are falling apart. It is a sign that your nervous system is finally coming back online after being in a state of high alert survival for years. You might find yourself crying more often, experiencing changes in your sleep, or suddenly feeling a massive roaring wave of anger that you were never allowed to express while you were under their control. Many people worry that these emotions indicate they are moving backward, but this is the opposite of the truth. This is not regression. This is deep, necessary integration. Your psyche is finally being given the safety and space to process the massive backlog of survival stress that you had to suppress just to make it through the day. One day, completely without warning, you will reach a milestone that feels like a miracle. You will be going about your day when the thought of them will cross your mind, and you will realize with absolute clarity that you feel nothing at all. There is no lingering love, no sharp pang of hate, no bitter resentment, and no desperate longing for justice. There is only a clean, calm, and neutral indifference. That is the exact moment the spell breaks. You will realize that you have become completely unreachable to them. This doesn't mean you have spent years building a guarded defensive wall. It means you have built a solid, impenetrable self. You are no longer reacting to their cues because their voice no longer holds the authority to dictate your emotional reality. You are finally, undeniably, your own person. True freedom is the quiet understanding that you do not need a final confrontation, a sincere apology, or any form of closure from them to move forward. You realize that your liberation never depended on their ability to wake up or admit their faults. It only ever depended on your own awakening. The fact that you are here, breathing through these words and recognizing yourself in this journey, is absolute proof that something inside you can no longer be silenced. I invite you to subscribe and stay on this path with me, not because the journey ends today, but because it is only truly beginning. The version of you waiting on the other side of this healing process is wiser, softer, and unshakable in ways you cannot yet imagine. What happens when a narcissist realizes you see through them is only the first half of the story. The real story, the one that actually matters, is who you become when you fully realize that they can never, ever control you again. Your real life is starting right now.